This session is called Bringing the Spirit to Your Group. This is actually a look at how do you integrate faith or the faith opportunities to each of your different unique groups. We have multiple presenters, Susan Lawyer, Chris Carabinos, Cliff Cohen, and myself. And we will be sharing 48 slides. So there's a lot of information. It is being recorded, and it will be available along with each of the resources for all of the different unique groups. As we are a scouting ministry, it is really truly critical that we open the door for faith for youth. We are ministry. That means we care about faith, and we care about faith opportunities. And it's not just, did you come into church, but really, did you begin to grow in relationship with God? Since each program is a bit different, we will walk through those programs with people who have spent a good amount of time in each of the programs themselves. What we want you to remember is that you are the link. It only takes one person to bring the Spirit to a group to change the dynamics of a group permanently. We're going to kick it off with Girl Scouts, and I'm going to click it over Susan Lawyer.
Awesome. Thank you, Stephen. My name is Susan Lawyer, and I have been an adult volunteer in Girl Scouts for the last 14 years. I was a Girl Scout growing up. It is a program that I could not wait to sign up and be an adult volunteer in. I've had many hats over the years in Girl Scouts, and my absolute favorite position was being a troop leader to my daughter's troop for 13 years, and we finished with 9 scouts that have just completed their first year in college. So I had a heart for the program. I loved it. It has been a joy to serve in, and I'm super excited to be able to share how we brought Scout Spirit in, or the spirit and the faith-based program into Girl Scouts. So if you will click to the next slide for me, Stephen, please. All right. I don't think I need to tell everybody what Girl Scouts is. I noticed yesterday from our chat that we have a lot of people that are participating that either know what Girl Scouts is or they're serving in Girl Scouts. But I wanted to share that we have kind of a different relationship with our faith organizations. Unlike Boy Scouts, we don't have an annual contract that we charter with them, but we do try to partner with our faith organizations. And that helps us when we're promoting our religious recognitions. And it helps us not only create relationships between our youth, but it also helps create relationships with our adult volunteers. And that relationship helps us to promote the faith in the Girl Scout program. So everything we do in Girl Scouts is based on our promise and law. And I'm excited to share that we have a national faith pin. And we're going to flip to the next slide and we'll show you what that is. For those of you who are not familiar with the program, Girl Scouts has a national pin. This is through our curriculum that is called My Promise, My Faith. It is in every level of our program. It starts with Daisy Scouts in kindergarten. It goes all the way up to our 12th grade Scouts, which are called ambassadors. The religious recognition pin came to be, actually, we took faith out of our program for a while. We brought it back. It was exciting to me to see that it is part of our national curriculum. This yellow page is in every level. It looks the same. The pin and the requirements are the same, starting with Daisy's. And if you look at the bottom of that page, you'll actually see what the recognition pin looks like. It's a little diamond. When you earn it each year, so the very first year it has light blue on top and dark blue on bottom. That's for a kindergarten student. Then the first grade student earns the next one. And it is the exact same. It is the exact same requirements from year to year. So if we will flip to the next page, we'll talk about how you earn My Promise, My Faith. And I see a hand raised. I don't know if there's a question, if you'd like to go ahead and shout it out now, or hand disappeared. Okay, well, put it in chat or save it and I'll be happy to answer questions at the end. There are 5 steps for earning My Promise, My Faith pin. The requirements are to choose a line from the Girl Scout law, find a story or song or poem from your faith group, talk to your friends and family about it. The second requirement is to find a woman in your own or another faith community, ask how she tries to use that line of the law in her life. And if you're not familiar with the Girl Scout law, you can find it on our national Girl Scout website. I didn't include a copy of it in here, but at the end of the presentation, you'll have a link to GSUSA. The third step is to gather 3 inspirational quotes by women that fit with that line of the Girl Scout law and put them into where you can see them every day. The fourth step is to make something to remind you of what you've learned. And the fifth step is to keep the connection strong and find out if your faith community offers a recognition program for Girl Scouts. So if you could flip to the next screen for me. All right, I have to tell you, as a troop leader, when I got started and I saw the My Promise, My Faith, it occurred to me that this was exactly the same program that we were going to do for 13 years. And I didn't see where this would be kind of a unique way to earn a faith pin. It looked to me that it was going to be kind of repetitive. But if you look at the steps where you choose one line from the Girl Scout law, each year you will choose a different line from the Girl Scout law. And so your walk through the pin will have different steps. And we've done some of the examples I'm going to show on how we brought spirit in. These were things that I've done either with my Girl Scout troop, within my Girl Scout community, and I'm in the San Jacinto Council, and we call them communities instead of service units, but it's the same thing. Or ways that you can do this with a larger group, say at a camp out, maybe like similar to a duty to God or a religious encampment. So I'm going to share some ways that we have earned these pins. And I have to tell you that when we did these events, girls can earn their My Promise, My Faith individually. It's something they can do the 5 steps at home with their mom and dad. They can do it with their troop. I like to do the pins with family because I like that part of it being, as a troop leader, I love sharing about my faith, but I like that part of the faith to involve their families. So whenever I have presented a My Promise, My Faith, it has always been with a mother-daughter kind of event or a family member. It doesn't have to be mom, it can be dad. So you can host different events. Here's one that we did that was a My Promise, My Faith camp out. This was not at my home church, where I've done a number of the different My Promise, My Faith events because I like to partner with my church in the Sunday school classrooms there. I love getting other adult volunteers in my church to help mentor the girls and be part of our program. I'm kind of kneeling in the front of this picture, but some of the other women that are there belong to Sunday school classes, and they stepped in and helped us put on this program. The other women in the picture are mothers to those girls. We had a mother-daughter My Promise, My Faith camp out where we partnered with, we used the Pray Bible Basics, which I'm not going to go into a lot of details because I know Bill Chafin's going to talk about our Pray Awards later, and we'll have a link to Pray Publishing. But Pray has come out with wonderful templates that pair the Girl Scout law with their RP3 series. And it's just a plug and play. You don't even have to create an event. They have written a template out with stations, and you can choose a theme and pair it with their materials, which are free. Amanda showed you the link to get the RP3 materials. In this camp out, we chose the Respect Authority line from the Girl Scout law. We had a local high school teacher come out because we thought, perfect, she deserves and respects, she needs authority. I mean, she respects your authority. And so she was a Girl Scout leader as well. And so she came to our event, and we used the Pray curriculum and their template to host an overnight event. We've also done interfaith My Promise, My Faith events off campus, not at a faith house. I use my Methodist church a lot, but we had a My Promise, My Faith interfaith event at a local community college. And so the line where you find number 2, the step where you invite a woman from your own faith community, we invited women from several different faith communities, and we were able to have a My Promise, My Faith interfaith event. And we opened it up, and we had kind of chosen questions ahead of time for the girls to ask, maybe like, what does baptism look like? Does it look different for your faith? Do you have that in your faith? So there are a lot of creative ways that you can have My Promise, My Faith events, from just being an individual, maybe in your community, or further having it at a camp out. And if you would advance to the next slide for me. All right, so when can we recognize our My Promise, My Faith recipients? We have a Founders Day week. It starts on Scout Sunday and it ends on Scout Sabbath. And this is a perfect opportunity for girls to be in worship in their uniforms and to be recognized as a Girl Scout and to receive their award. And I think we have a slide up for when you can go ahead and mark the date, save the date for next year, 2021. Be planning your Scout Sunday celebration with your Girl Scouts. It's a great way to wear your uniform, show off those pins. The My Promise, My Faith are official recognition pins. They go on the front of the uniform. We call it, it's like a mullet. It's business in front and party in back. So all your fun patches always go on the back. All your official recognitions go on the front. And start planning that celebration. We talk a lot about Scout Sunday and Boy Scouts. And I know sometimes when you don't charter or have that official relationship with your faith institution, it might be harder to get in the door, but start planning ahead to have that happen. It's a great, I mean, when you start asking girls to show up at Scout Sunday in uniforms, you would be amazed at how many people have participated in the program, or ask your adults to stand up if you were ever a Girl Scout when you were younger. It's great to look out into your congregation and see all the Scouters that are out there. All right, let's flip to the next one. Next slide, please. Okay, so if you're coming from a BSA background, you might be familiar with the Religious Emblems Coordinator. We have sort of a similar position. It is not, I don't know how to say official. It is official position. We want to have a faith-based programs coordinator in every Girl Scout community or service unit promoting My Promise, My Faith. That doesn't mean you're teaching all the classes or you're leading all of the pray or the events. You're kind of the cheerleader for My Promise, My Faith, to get people excited about, to let people know that there is a recognition pin. I think sometimes it's just getting the word out that faith is part of our program. It's in every level of it. So if you don't have a faith-based programs coordinator, I know you have to have a cookie mom and you have to have a treasurer and you have to have a troop leader, but you ought to have a faith-based programs coordinator. I know those people are out there that are excited about it. I'm not the only one who gets excited about a faith-based programs coordinator. Talk to the people that teach Sunday school, to the ages of your girls in your units. There is somebody out there that will champion the My Promise, My Faith pin. So find that adult volunteer. All right, so let's go to the next slide. Okay, well, Pray program is the one that I was referring to that has the RP3 series. They have the templates. They've written a program that partners with My Promise, My Faith. That's my favorite way to do the pin in my Girl Scout community. I love it because I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel, and they have the event already mapped out. All you do is pick out the line of the law. And if you have girls picking out the program, have them help decide what your event's going to look like. If they want to help pick the theme out or pick which line of the law, help them, it's a girl planned event. So help them be a part of it. You can pull up the website. You can look at the their templates and take a look at what that can look like in your area. All right, next page for religious emblems. Okay, so we also have the religious emblems that you can earn through Pray Publishing that are specific to your faith group. The My Promise, My Faith is the National Girl Scout pin. The religious emblems, now these are coming through Pray Publishing, so these are going to be for Protestant independent Christian groups. If you have girls that are not within those, you can go, look online and go directly to their faith group and find the religious emblems. Through Pray, you can see the steps involved for those girls to earn those pins as well. And we're going to talk more about Pray, so I'm not going to go into the different faith groups, but I wanted you to see what that chart looks like. All right, and if you would tab over to the next slide for me. We have a National Interfaith Committee and I think one of the biggest challenges is just getting the word out that we have faith and that we embrace faith in our program. This was at the National Girl Scout Convention. It was in Columbus, Ohio about 3 years ago. You can see lots of different men and women in that group representing many different faiths. The Buddhist Committee of Scouting, there's lots of different Protestant groups in there, Catholic Scouters, Jewish Scouters. We all got together and we talked about what we're doing within our faith homes to promote My Promise, My Faith. And that's a wonderful thing to do. You can do that in your service unit too at monthly meetings. See where people's faith houses are and y'all come together and come up with ways to promote My Promise, My Faith. And then the last slide I have is just helpful links, and that is our National Girl Scout website. And Amanda showed you a picture of what our faith page looks like. The other link is to Pray Publishing, where you'll be able to find links to those religious emblems, as well as go to the resource tab for Girl Scouts, and you'll be able to see all of the My Promise, My Faith information and events there as well. And that is how you bring Scout spirit to your group. I mean, that's how we did it where I'm at. So do I have any questions that I can answer right now? If not, I would love to share my email, and please contact me. I love talking Scouts. I love talking My Promise, My Faith, and sharing ideas, because, you know, we're going to do in our community again this next year. Hopefully it won't be virtual. It'll be back in person. And I would love to hear how you guys are doing My Promise, My Faith, where you're at.
Thank you, Susan.
Thanks, Steve.
Looking at our Boy Scout side of things, we actually have Chris Carabinos, who is going to be presenting about bringing the spirit to the Boy Scout group. Go ahead, Chris.
Thank you, Stephen, and wonderful job, Susan, as always. As Stephen mentioned, I'm the Conference Scout Coordinator for the North Georgia Conference. That's Atlanta and all of North Georgia. I also was the course director for the Conference Scout Coordinator Retreat last year, along with Frank Parker, who's on this line here, and Bill and a couple of other folks. So we had a great time with that, and be looking for some information on that coming up for this October as well. We'll do that again. It'll be near Nashville, Tennessee. So you look for some information on that. And also I'll be the course director for Philmont 2021 that Stephen's already spoken about. So just be on the lookout for additional information on that, and hope to see all you guys there as well. Okay. So, and again, there's the neckerchief for this year, promoting next year's date. So I'll go ahead and give that a quick shout out. I'm going to, there's so much we could talk about with Duty to God and Boy Scouts. I'm going to focus the limited time I have on a Scout's faith journey. So think about, somebody shared a point yesterday on one of the speeches in this session yesterday, that about 50% of all Scouts are unchurched. They don't go to any temple, synagogue, or church at all. And so the only opportunity that those Scouts get exposed to faith at all is when they come onto a campus for a Cub Scout or Boy Scout or Venture Crew meeting. Can you imagine that? They don't even step onto a campus. That sort of breaks the seal of will. It sort of removes intimidation if you at least come on for a meeting. And just think about the life of a Scout, boy or girl Scout. Okay, I'm going to focus this on Boy Scouts. They come into a church for a troop meeting. They go into a camp out that you see here, and they get witness to a Scout's own service or an interdenominational service. They may hear a prayer at a meal by patrol. Okay, then they get invited to Scout Sunday at their church. These are all little seeds that are sprinkled in front of kids, in front of youth, that help them start asking questions and get them exposed to it. So I look at scouting, Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts, as a way to sprinkle seeds of Christ and help initiate a faith journey for these kids. Sometimes we get to nurture that further along. So the things that I'm going to share with you today are some activities, not all, but some activities that some of the ones I mentioned and a couple of others that are things that we can do as Scout leaders at the unit level to help further that faith walk. One of those is the Scouts on service, as you can see here. And sometimes you'll actually see programs where they actually have printed programs, not necessary. What is necessary is to have it be youth-led. And I've seen a lot of Cub Scout packs do this as well, where they may have a den chief or maybe just an adult lead it. But you also always want to get the youth involved, even a Cub Scout youth, helping with a reading, maybe helping with a short sermon. Of course, you want to coach them up, helping with songs, and make it 10 minutes. Don't make it a long thing. Okay, this is for kids. So that's a great way to introduce a worship service to youth. Another way to do this is with leadership positions. And we're going to talk about troop faith positions, but the pack I was in, fortunate we actually we had a chaplain in the pack, and we came up with chaplain's aid at each den. We borrowed some of the Boy Scout items and at the pack level, so you can leverage these. But two of the positions that most of us are familiar with are a chaplain, that's the adult position, of course, and then a chaplain's aide, which is the youth position, which are typically voted or assigned, different troops do it differently, for 6-month positions. And some troops, you may have a chaplain aide do it for a year or 18 months, an extended period if there's no one else interested. But of course, there's nice educational programs, and the BSA just published this new program last year. And in fact, in the information that you're going to see, did I get the new one? Yeah, right here. So you can actually, when you get this, there's a link to this, and it's a very nice detailed booklet. So you can, when you get this, you can just click on it and it'll take you there, and you can download that. And so it's actually online. Boy Scouts did a wonderful job with that. And they have a weekend version. They have a 3-hour version, different versions. Okay. So I certainly encourage you guys, if you don't have one in your pack or troop or crew, go ahead and recruit somebody, or perhaps do it yourself. Get somebody involved with that. Another leadership position we have in the Boy Scouts is the religious emblem coordinator position. Looks like an old 1960 color patch there. I'm not sure why we did it in a different color, because it's a really new patch. It's in the last 5 or 8 years. But it is something to focus on promoting religious emblems coordinator. Now, in my troop, I'm in Troop 143 in Johns Creek, Georgia. We have Protestants of most types. We have Catholics. We have a Jewish boy once, every so often. We definitely have a Hindu. 20% of the troop is Hindu. And we have some Muslim kids. It's like the United Nations of faith. I imagine a lot of your troops are probably the same way. And the idea of having a religious emblem coordinator in the troop is to help promote them. No one person is going to be an expert at all those, or are they going to teach them all? It's just, you may teach your own. If you're Protestant, you teach the Pray program. If you're Catholic, you may teach Adulatory Day. But the idea is that you will promote it and help find other churches, temples, or synagogues that are hosting those programs and introduce your youth to them. So that's what that is. Now, truth be told, I don't know of too many troops that have a chaplain and a unit religious emblem coordinator. Since this position is relatively new, and chaplains have been around for decades, many decades, I think the chaplain traditionally has had responsibility for promoting that, but the chaplain has other responsibilities too. So it's nice if you can get one of each. That means you have 2 adults who are doing that. That's wonderful. And that's how the responsibility breaks out. But if you don't have them both, that's okay too. One can sort of help fill with the other. And if you didn't have a chaplain, I imagine this person would end up coaching the chaplain's aide anyway. So those are some leadership positions that can help promote faith in your troop or pack. Another tool that I think a number of troops and packs have, and they don't really realize it's a tool, but a troop-based prayer. This is Troop 518. Actually, Stephen Scheid's, he lived in South Carolina, and this is based on the Philmont, which if you've been to Philmont, many of you guys have, the cadence will sound familiar. For strength and compassion, for courage to lead, for grace to live, the oath and the law. For abundance beyond need, we thank thee, O Lord. Amen. I think that's a wonderful, and their troop says that so often, they just have it memorized. My troop, here's the one, and this is probably one of you guys are familiar with. And there's different versions. When you Google this on the website, you'll see a lot of different versions. This is what we said. May the great scoutmaster of all scouts be with us until we meet again. May you run the race at the scout's pace, up the trail to the end. Good night, scouts. And that's how we close every troop meeting, every court of honor, every campfire. So, therefore it became part of, they knew the scout oath, the scout law, and our closing. Every scout knows those. And it reinforces a lot of the core values. Another, if you think about sprinkling seeds of Christ through a scout's career, another major one is Scout Sunday. Here you'll actually see Boy Scouts and Girl Scout. They do a combined here at Evangelical Methodist down in Augusta, Georgia. In fact, Bob Lowry is on the line here watching this. Thank you, Bob, for this great picture. And so this is a great opportunity to recognize scouting in front of their congregation, but also an opportunity for the congregation to say thank you to scouts and vice versa. And it's also a great recruiting tool, because if you're a kid in the audience and you see all these kids up there, you're asking your mom and dad, hey, why am I not doing that? Can I participate? Okay. And there's just lots of things you can do with that. There's separate courses on how to conduct a Scout Zone service, so I really won't go into that today, or Scout Sunday service. But that's a great tool that we have. And you can do Boy Scouts or Girl Scouts or combined. Maybe I shouldn't have changed the page just yet. So one thing that I know, and I agree with this, Stephen, if a church has a strong enough Girl Scout program and a strong enough Boy Scout program, they may consider 2 separate Scout Sundays. It increases the exposure for both programs. And so, one's in March and one's in February. So I think that's a win-win if you have both programs. So one of the other programs, in fact, as we think about the stair steps and the way to introduce Christ to different kids without being overly evangelical, is the Pray program. The Pray program, in like most religious emblem programs, are really run by the institution, the faith-based institution, by Evans United Methodist or Johns Creek Methodist. It's not necessarily run by the troop itself, even though a lot of troops, in fact, most of the volunteer leaders to run the program come from a troop or a pack. Okay, but you do need a minister or a rabbi if you're running a Jewish program to actually participate in the program. Today's message is not to really educate you all about the program, but just to say this is a wonderful way to get kids into the Bible, even a first grader or second grader. In fact, Jesus and Me over here is kindergarten and first grade. They added that 2 years ago. And so it goes from K through 12th grade. It's an excellent program. We promote it very aggressively here in North Georgia. We had over 50 churches offer it here in North Georgia last year. And so when they offer it, we encourage them to offer it for all youth, boys and girls, and non-scouting youth within 5 miles of their church. Invite everybody. This is a community effort. And then also to promote faith-based emblems of all faiths. As I mentioned, Troop 143, 20% of the troop is Hindu. So we actually helped them, the Hindu temple about 5 miles north of us, start a faith-based program around 2007, 2008 time period. I actually recruited one of our leaders to go start that program, and they still run that today, so we can have a place to send our Hindu boys. In the Catholic Church, we exchange kids back and forth. So we want to make sure that we try to provide options for all of our youth. This is something that came up at the tail end of the last conversation about Methodist awards. Most of these are Methodist awards. One of them, the Cross and the God in Service, is actually a Pray Award recognition for promoting that program. But the General Commission on Methodist Men has done a wonderful job creating a whole set of awards here. One for the church level, one for units, Pack Trooper Crew, called the Bishop's Award of Excellence. You have individual awards, the Cross and Flame, the Torch, the Silver Torch, and you have some youth awards, the Good Samaritan. And so here's the picture of most of them. And as it was alluded to before, you can go to the General Commission's website, search in their line for awards, and then they have all these either downloadable, and now Stephen's actually added, you can order them online now. You don't have to download the form and fill it out and fax it in or mail it in with a check. You can actually take care of all that online. So much more customer friendly. So this is a great way to recognize the person who leads your Pray program, your chaplain, maybe if you're a COR, to recognize the Scoutmaster or committee chair, somebody who's really building duty to God in your program. You want to recognize those people because the people at the top very rarely get recognized, as we all know. So definitely this is a great tool for all of us to help promote the leadership of the pack and the troop. Here are a number of award links from those awards themselves, and also the Pray Service Award if you want to go to their website. So you'll get all this in your in the file. And then I want to close with next week. We've already mentioned it before, but this is a group of us from North Georgia when we were there in 3 years ago or 2 years ago. It's what I consider to be heaven on earth. And so it's a wonderful location. I think several of you guys have been there before. Even if you have been there before, come join us next year. We got some great instructors and great setting, and hopefully the virus will be totally gone by then. So Stephen, I don't know if you want to hold questions to the end, or if we want to take 1 or 2 questions now, or if there are even any. So I'll let you guide that.
There's a couple different points. Someone was pointing out that they offered like the prayer before or after, or their grace before or after the meeting, or both. And then there was a comment by Matt from Kentucky. It says, as far as the pictures from Scout Sunday go, they were pulling one every year. And after 8 years, when their pastor went on to retirement, they offered their pastor a collage of those years worth of Scout Sundays. And he loved it. I think that kind of moment when you can share all of those youth in their picture with the pastor like that, it really helps cement the concept of ministry. They start to look at it and they go, wow, what a difference we've made. There's another question in here. It says, do other councils And Girl Scout communities have interfaith hikes. Ours is 10 Commandments based.
Oh.
And actually I believe in the next presentation, there are kind of two options. One is the 10 Commandments based. But if you're going to look at the 10 Commandments, then what you end up is looking at the Abrahamic community, Jewish, Muslim, and Christian, because they all ascribe to the 10 Commandments. But if you want to do something that's interfaith, where you open it up and bring in the Hindu, the Buddhist groups as well, then you might actually just do a faith hike. So there's a lot of different opportunities to open those doors.
Yeah, one of the things that we've done in the Atlanta Area Council with the Duty to God religious weekend is we would have a faith walk. We'd have 6 different faiths: Protestants, Catholics, Hindu, Jewish, Muslim, Sikh, and the Eastern Orthodox. And we would have about a half mile to walk between each of those. So you'd complete it in about a 3.5 hour time frame. And you get a little passport. You go here about 25 to 30 minutes of why that faith is important. So you split the 300 or 400 people up into 6 groups, and you just rotate until everybody visits all of them. You get your passport stamped, you can get a patch. But the whole idea is to learn 3 things about that faith. You're not trying to learn the entire faith, but what that promotes is, well, why is that different than what we believe, Mom, or who's ever going around with you? It's sort of like learning a foreign language. You know, I didn't really learn English until I took Spanish, because I'm converting it back in my mind back to English. I'm going, oh, that's how you conjugate a verb. Oh, that's why that's important. And then I really didn't learn Spanish very well, but it helped me learn English better. I think this faith walk is based on the same concept. If I start comparing somebody else's faith to mine, I really understand what's core to my faith. And I think that's something like that is really helpful.
To answer Kenneth's question directly, the United Methodist Awards that Chris showed, the Cross and the Flame, you do not have to be United Methodist to earn that award. That actually is a recognition of service to a ministry of the church. So when scouting, whether it's Girl Scouts or Boy Scouts, you don't actually have to be a member of the United Methodist Church to receive that award. The Cross and the Flame is our way of saying we want to honor you in ministry. The torch and the silver torch actually are specific to United Methodist. We are looking at different ways in which we can honor those people who are serving. A lifetime of service particularly is one of those just beautiful things that we want to honor. So I hope that answers the question. There are always more opportunities out there, and we will connect with them.
Great. Well, thank you, Stephen.
Thank you, Chris. And up next, we have Faith in Venturing. We actually wanted to put this one in here specifically because venturing is a little bit of a different bird, and so is Cliff. Go ahead, Cliff.
Yeah. Well, at least you don't have me muted right now, I don't think, do you?
Nope.
Good. I thought they were trying to tell me something. As Stephen said, can you advance for me, Stephen?
Yeah, sorry.
Okay. I'm Cliff Cohen. I'm the Central Texas Conference United Methodist Church Scouting Coordinator. I'm a member of Training Committee on National Religious Relationship Committee, like with Susan and Caroline, who you heard from yesterday. I'm past director and staffer of the United Methodist Scouters Conference at Philmont. And let's see, I am the training committee in my district. I am the only member of it. Like everyone here, I wear a whole bunch of different hats, and only one of them is this stylish red beret that you see here. So let's move on and get into some meat here. Venturing is different. That's one of the things that's always been true about it. When I was first involved in it, was in the 70s, when I was in that right age group. You know, back then, first class scouting was a little, in some ways it was actually easier because tracking dinosaurs is not really all that hard. But in the 70s, I got into exploring, which was the predecessor of venturing. And one of the reasons I got into exploring was that it was co-ed, even back then. So that was a big lure for us guys. Venturing is different in that uniforms are optional. If you have one, it's up to the crew. The crew can make their own decisions about it. The ages are different. Right now, the ages are 14 through 20. There's been some rumors going around that the top part of that age may change, but for right now, that's what it is. Venturing does have an advancement track, but most crews don't push it, and it only came into existence really a few years ago. It does have also a separate awards track, which is sort of a different animal than the advancement track. So Stephen, go to the next slide, please. Stephen.
Do you see the Venturing Awards?
Ah, there it is. Got there. Okay, Venturing Awards, the advancement. They're also known as core awards. The first one is the Venturing Award. Okay, well, you move up through the Venturing Award to the Discovery Award, the Pathfinder Award, and then the Summit Award. And each one of these is a little different. Let's move to the next slide and I'll explain a little bit more about it. The first award, the Venturing Award, is more or less, here's what you're getting into. It's just familiarizing the new venturer with the program. But the remaining three awards, the Discovery, the Pathfinder, and the Summit, there's a thread that runs through them. And one of the things I want to point out in this presentation is that while venturing is different and it's a little known outside of a few people who are involved in it, it has some very good built-in opportunities for faith growth in the venturers. The Discovery Award, second award in the list, the first one we'll talk about in depth here, requires a personal reflection. You choose one of three realms, and one of those realms is adventures of faith. From personal reflection over one of these three realms, the venturer is to establish a personal goal and achieve it, and then discuss that process with the advisor. Now, the third award, the Pathfinder, requires the venturer to explore the other two suggested realms, and all three of them were adventures of faith, adventures of self, or adventures of others. But in the Pathfinder Award, you're looking at the second one of the other two that you didn't choose in the first one. And then you also have to participate in an ethical controversy exercise. I'll talk more about those in a moment too. The Summit Award takes the same structure, basically, has a structured personal reflection from two of the realms, and we'll talk more about the structured personal reflection in a moment. The venturer is asked to create a personal code of conduct, and that's to be guided by their explorations in the three realms of faith, self, and others. Venturers asked to lead an ethical controversy and a conflict resolution scenario. So you see that the thread runs throughout all three, or all four, I suppose you could say, awards. Let's talk about the individual parts of those, okay? The structured personal reflection in the faith realm is designed to lead the venturer to consider the development of his or her faith. Now, development of faith can be completion of the trust award, which I'll talk about in a moment. It could be commitment to read a sacred text. It could be organization of or participation in a mission trip, or it could be, in a sense, any goal that promotes personal growth through an exploration of faith. Next slide, please. And in it, some of those questions that the venturer is asked to consider are things like, what do I value? What motivates me? What's my purpose in life? What do I want out of life? Those are big questions. And all of us could use thinking about them from time to time. And thinking about those sorts of questions are an integral part of developing one's own faith. Next slide, please. Ethical controversies are dilemmas without easy answers, dilemmas in which each side might have valid arguments. Okay, and they're a part of every profession, every vocation, every hobby, every recreational activity, as well as every relationship. These are program resources that can assist you, the advisor or the venturer, in encouraging thought and discussion through about those ethical questions that may fit their interest areas or their relationships. You know, for instance, when is censorship okay? You could get a great one going right now about should you be required to wear a mask in public? You might want to stay away from that one for right now, but it's an idea. Okay, next slide. Now, that's one set of things. Okay, those are the core awards. The next set is the Trust Award that we're going to talk about. These are achievement awards and include things like Quest, Ranger, Nova and Supernova, the Shooting Sports Outstanding Achievement Award, and the World Conservation Award. They're ones that venturers may choose for themselves and concentrate on those things. The Trust Award is straight down the path of faith development. Let's go to the next slide. In the Trust Award, in the process of earning it, venturers learn more about their own and others' communities, religions, and cultures. So let's go to the next slide. There are basically 5 areas of requirements in the Trust Award, and each one of them has its own required sections and electives. Teaching your faith is where you learn about your own religious journey. It starts with earning the religious emblem for your faith group. So those Pray Awards that we've been looking at in the other presentations, this is like the opening part of the Trust Award. Okay, respecting the beliefs of others. Here's where the venturer is learning about the freedom of religion in the United States and learning about religions other than their own in their own community or in their surroundings. Understanding other cultures is another area of requirements where they learn about the historical significance of cultures in the U.S. and they study one cultural group in detail. Now, in serving your community, of course, in scouting, we serve our community throughout all segments of it. But in this one, they have to complete a community service project and learn about organizations in their community that serve youth. And then finally, transforming our society. Gee, that phrase sounds something like transformation of the world, doesn't it? There they learn some counseling skills. They learn some conflict resolution, some things about peace and reconciliation, and about how to apply them in their own lives. This is not unlike an internship, if you will, in some sort of faith-based program in a college. Let's go to the next slide. Oops. Now, this is the sheets that have all the requirements for the Trust Award, and I don't expect you to be able to read any of these really, but it gives you an idea that it's not a small thing to earn this award. Some of these requirements include things like I said, earn the religious reward for your faith, do a cultural diversity project, volunteer for 3 months, participate in a religious trek or a retreat, teach a children's religious class, explore in depth a religion other than your own. 6 months work in with a community organization, 8 hours of counseling education. So it's not an easy award, but it is an impressive one that ties together a lot of things about developing one's own faith and really, in a way, positioning a youth to become a leader in their faith. Last slide, or next to the last slide, please. These are the resources that I used in this presentation. The links are shortened, so they're easy to get to. And then final slide, these are QR codes. If you have a modern smartphone, you can normally take your camera, hold it up to this, and it'll take you to that document on the internet. Okay? So that's a quick and fierce presentation on venturing. Anything I can answer or help with?
I think you were pretty thorough, Cliff. The chat either got quiet or the coffee wore off. Something happened.
Yeah. Or you muted me again. I know what you're doing.
Not yet.
Thank you.
Thank you, Cliff. And I actually, I'm Steve Scheid, and I want to share a little bit about Big Brothers, Big Sisters, and how faith connects with our Big Brothers and Big Sisters connection. So you already know me. I've talked quite a bit in the last day or so. But not only being the director of the Center for Scouting Ministries, I'm also big. This is my grandson. And what I want you to realize is, as an adult, you have the power to have an incredible impact on a child. When they look up at you, they see something totally different than just what you see. They see a Superman, or in some cases, a dad or a caring adult. I joined Big Brothers Big Sisters specifically because I wanted to know a little bit more about the program, and I wanted to find a place where I could connect. The process for becoming a big seems to be kind of simple. You fill out the application, get your training, and do the interview. Now, when I say that, it took me about 3.5 months to be accepted into the Big Brothers Big Sisters program. Because it's a one-on-one type relationship, they actually do a lot of thorough vetting. They call everybody who's on your list. They do a background check that's a whole lot more detailed. And there's a good reason for that. It does keep the child safe, as well as it sets you in a spot where they know what your skill sets are and how they can help you to be the best big you can be. Big Brothers Big Sisters started in 1904 with the belief that inherent to every child is an incredible set of potentials. Big Brothers Big Sisters makes meaningful, monitored matches between adult volunteers, the bigs, and children, the littles, ages 5 through adulthood. They're actually in 14 countries, as well as all 50 states. This is one of those opportunities that's directly available to you. What I want you to understand is, as far as faith goes, Big Brothers Big Sisters understands there's an importance of faith. Specifically, Big Brothers Big Sisters initiated the congregational-based Amachi program. It focuses on children with incarcerated parents. Amachi is a Nigerian word from the Igbo people, and it means, who knows but what God has brought us through this child. The Amachi program connects children with role models from all walks of life, but specifically those from local religious organizations. Houses of worship and their members really have the opportunity to provide a safe and stable environment for children who really need it the most. So how does that actually work with discipleship? Discipling is that sharing of your faith and yourself with others, and being big is exactly that. It's taking time out to share who you are with a child. I know my little has asked questions about, what's my family like? He's asked, well, why do you do this? And I told him, you know, I care about people. In my faith, to love others is a way in which we show that we love God. He goes, oh, well, my grandmother takes me to church. You know, so there's a beauty in that open door of relationship. Kwame Johnson, the CEO of Big Brothers Big Sisters of Metro Atlanta, offered a current perspective on this. He said, I'm leading an organization that depends on volunteerism and the goodwill of people of all races to defend the potential of young people in Atlanta. Most of the children we serve, 97%, are people of color, and about half of our volunteers are white. So in many cases, we are matching middle-class white men with black boys of low-income communities. And some of those mentoring relationships are the most long-lasting in our program. That is where I see a solution. I believe relationships are powerful. Mentorship can bring two people from very different backgrounds together. And the beauty is that both benefit from the relationship. Both learn from the relationship. Both become more accepting of others who are different. Both become better because of the relationship. I want you to think about it. Some of the racial tension and experiences we're having today come out of a lack of trust, a lack of understanding, and a lack of connection. How would it be if we actually were able to be big enough that we could connect with people all across the spectrum of our lives? Campfire is a unique place as well. Campfire is primarily focused on being a secular organization where youth are allowed to find their voice. They find their voice and their opportunity through what they call sparks, things that really spark their attention. So there is what's called a faith spark. And that faith spark opens the door for youth to explore their own faith. They are also focused heavily on serving the community, and the single largest council within Campfire, the way they've worked is they connect directly with churches. Their CEO is Episcopal, and she actually reaches out specifically to churches to build Campfire clubs, knowing that there's going to be a greater opportunity to connect and grow. Every one of the organizations we partner with has this great opportunity to find faith, to share faith, and to connect with others. I'd encourage you to realize you can be the person that brings the Spirit to your group.